All right. You look tired. See, you about to take a nap after this.
I do look tired. Man. I'm tired. I got a little bit of sleep last night. I trained today at noon, and
Mm.
the pollen's killing me. I'm kind
Oh
of
yeah.
tired. Yeah.
So I won't keep you on too long. So
Okay.
I sent you those questions. So we'll probably I added some new ones too. So
Okay.
so I think my first question would be like, what made you want to start your own academy?
Yeah. Okay. It's just being quiet now, or what? Just.
Before everything happened, like what made you want to like you were like when were you like, okay, I want to have my own academy?
So yeah. So it first started when I got my my brown belt in 2016 by Jacare, and I think during that time I was doing privates with my friend Sean McMorrow,
Mm,
and we did a couple of privates and at his place, and he asked me if I wanted to open a gym, and it kind of just went over my head. So
mm-hmm,
I told him that I just wanted to compete for now since I just get my brown belt. If you wanted to wait for about 2 years, then we could kind of talk about it. And
mm-hmm.
2 years came by, and get closer. He's like, "Hey, do you still want to do this gym?" And at this time, I'm like, I didn't want to open a school as a brown belt, but if I was going to open one, then it's going to be close to black belt.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of timed it maybe a year out before I got my black belt, and we started looking at some properties and for a gym in 2000. We started looking in 2017. I think we
Okay.
signed up in 2019.
So it wasn't like a quick like, okay, I want to do this.
No, no, it wasn't quick. It took a while because we were looking at a bunch of properties in Alpharetta,
Mm,
Johns Creek. We originally wanted to do it in Gainesville, but as Gainesville is, people think of Gainesville as the poultry city, the capital of the world. So
mm.
and then I thought, it's just a bunch of farmland out here. That's nothing
Yeah,
much
that's what I
of
thought when I
Gainesville.
went.
Yeah, so as I got adjusted to Gainesville and kind of just drove up here a lot, just look at some this one particular place. It kind of grew on me, like
Hmm.
passing the bridge right on our right hand side. You pass a bridge of water, and it's like the lake and everything, and you see boats and jet skis going
Hmm.
through the summer. And you're like, oh man, I can get used to this place up here. So it grew on me, and so now we're here.
How do you feel about like, I'm on social media, so I'll see like, brand new blue belts like, yeah, I want to have my own school one day. Like, how do you feel about those kind of guys?
I tell you guys, man, just be patient, because blue belt, you think about it, blue belt's a long time from black belt. You're probably looking
Hmm.
at the average person from blue to blue black, you're looking at another 7 8 years, if you're a
Jesus.
competitor, you know. Um,
That's if they make it a black belt.
yeah, assuming they're a black belt. So opening a school as a blue belt, you're still learning, and now you're teaching a team. So if you don't have, as much knowledge you can over the years, then it's going to be
Hmm.
hard to leave. You're going to have to pull someone in, like a black belt, upcoming black belt, or that's already established black belt, and you got to pay that person. And
Hmm.
sometimes in your gym, you don't have that money to pay them. Especially opening a gym. I taught other classes. My partner Sean taught other kids classes. We can't afford other instructors, at the beginning. So if
Hmm.
you're a blue belt, I highly recommend to wait a little bit, just train and network and get to know people and just, enjoy your time, because when you're teaching, it's different. You don't,
Yeah.
you get tired. You come in, some days I want to be a student, and some days I go to Atlanta headquarters and I miss being a student and just kind of do my own thing and having a
Hmm.
teacher run the program. It's different. And as you know, Alex, I always ask you when you're like, "Hey, how does it feel like to be a teacher in Sweden?" You're like, "Ah, it's okay." I'm like, "Easy,"
Uh,
and I now I understand. Like
hmm.
it's great, but you have to teach, and you're a leader, and sometimes you can't train all the time that you want to. I mean, you can train, but by the time you're teaching and then you're training, you're already kind of tired from like maybe 3 classes ago,
Yeah.
and you're
It's like
like
your
kind of
brain, it's a different
dehydrated.
type of tired. Like your brain, like you're teaching, your brain's fried, and then like you gotta train and your brain's fried.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. And
Uh,
and then and then your students are trying to go for you, and you're like still like in the mindset of teaching, and you're just like just kind of tuned out. And then
Mm-hmm.
maybe like the second row, you're kind of like back in it, but it's not always the case, But it is teaching and training is different.
Yeah, that balance. I think what helped me was having, so when I was teaching a lot, I always had like, other instructors. So maybe like John when I was in Sweden. So like he would teach the Ghee classes, I would do no Ghee. So there was always time where we had a few days where you had like time off. You weren't like at the gym like 8 hours a day, sleeping there, eating there. We had like, you had a little bit more freedom versus like, it's a difference when you're the head instructor and you're teaching, maybe 10, 15 classes a week. And man,
Yeah.
it's tough. It's rough.
When you were in Sweden, did you just teach? You didn't do anything else, like behind the scene, like paperwork and the business side of the gym.
Um, well, the way it worked, we had like visas. So you weren't supposed to do anything else outside of that, what that visa said. So, I'm not saying I didn't do things outside that visa, but that's not what the government wanted. So,
Right.
I just got lucky, I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was able to, teach a little bit, get some experience that way, and also like train and go compete in Europe.
Yeah.
Um, what are some challenges that you faced since you've opened up your academy? 2020.
Yeah. So we opened in COVID,
Mm,
right when we. So some challenges. First of all, opening the gym was a lot of challenges. Figuring out, how to save money on certain, you know, trying to save money in certain part of like how to get the gym started, like your
mhm,
architecture floor plans. We didn't realize how much that costs. It can cost you anywhere from 4,000 to 8,000, depending on
ooh,
how big your square feet is, right? So our
mhm,
square feet is like 3,000. So just for the floor plan was like 5 grand minimum.
mm,
And we tried to cut budget, and we went with this guy that kind of stalled us for like 2 3 months, but that cost us a lot of money plus time that we lost.
yeah,
um, I think trying to find the right location, and you want to have some time on your lease to kind of like build your gym up, and then you pay your lease, right?
yeah,
And you realize 2 months seems like a lot of time, but sometimes like if you don't know what you're doing at the beginning, like two
yeah,
months goes by that quick, and then you're still trying to build a gym, and you're paying for the lease. So I think we ran into that, and that was a big problem. And then once we were done with everything, we're like, okay, now we're gonna open, make some money. Then COVID hits,
yeah,
and so we're out for another few months. But luckily, Georgia, allows us to kind of get back into things a bit fast in other states, and we were really fortunate to be able to do that. And we started to get members and open the have members and pay for our bills. But also like being the head instructor and having your own gym, like you have to teach. I have to teach. I gotta make phone calls.
mhm,
I gotta clean the gym, whether it's mopping, clean the mats, clean the toilets, you name it. Like I'm doing everything. Me and my partner are doing everything we can. So first of like, and being on the budget, like we
yeah,
saved a lot of money, and even though we thought we saved enough, wasn't enough. So you always want to have at least 20% of what you think it costs, like 20% extra to save, just in case something comes up. We didn't have 20%. We saved a little bit, but fortunately we had our savings, and we can kind of tap into that, our personal savings. But imagine we didn't have that, and
yeah.
we'll be kind of on a different boat, and we don't know what could have happened. So
Yeah, I'm really
so
proud
make
of you, man, for making it through.
yeah. Thank you.
Another question for you, cleaning the mats. So you clean the mats. How do you feel about making the students clean the mats? Is that like an issue, or you never thought about it, or?
Yeah, I know some gyms they want the students clean the mats. I'm very laid back. I'll clean the mats if they want to help clean the mats, and they're more than welcome to.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't make my students clean the mat. If they want to volunteer, most of the time they do volunteer, and I don't expect anything from them. So, but it's nice. It's nice when you have them help you, especially when you're teaching all day, and you're trying to clean other things up, other than the mats before you close up. So it does help.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's cultural. So like in America, they're like, I'm paying you. I'm not gonna clean the mats. You clean the mats. But in like, Europe or Asia, it's like, all right, students, get lower belts, lower students. Okay, take care of it.
Yeah, at headquarters, the students clean the mats too. I know Cabrini, he cleans the mats himself sometimes. I've seen, videos of him doing that. So, I think we all clean the mats. I don't think I'm better than my students just because I'm a black belt. You kind of want to lead by example, right? Sometimes
Not at some
it
places.
doesn't
See,
bother me. It doesn't bother me.
they're like, I'm a black belt. They do that.
No, you clean the mats. No, I wouldn't do that. No.
What are some upsides to having a school? Like, what are some things you're like, man, this is pretty cool?
Yeah, man, upside, it's like every day it's like you come to train or come to teach and train. It's kind of like I feel like I don't work, I mean, I'm working, but it doesn't feel like work because I really enjoy what I do, so it makes things easier. Waking up in the morning, going to lift, and then going straight to the gym and teach. Back then when I was working, I was like, oh man, I don't want to get up. But I have to make money, and then 6:30 hits, and I'm like, oh, go to practice, But now it's just like I'm very lucky just to be able to do what I want to do every day. I can go teach, then get done. I can go into the lake and take a swim. I can go do errands, do what I want to do. So it's kind of nice to have that.
I think the downside of teaching though all the time is that like you don't know when to take a break. So you might be like overtrained, but you're just like you can't. It's hard to sit out. You're like, man, I might as well train anyway since I'm already here. I'm teaching.
Yeah. Like exactly. And my partner Sean goes, hey, sometimes you need a day off, take a day off, but I never take a day off because you know what I mean? Like you said, you don't know when you're tired until you're tired. Like Sunday, I'm like, oh, tired, I want to sleep. But then Sunday night, I'm like, oh, I want to get back to the gym and train. I'm like, just wait a few more hours and you'll be back on Monday. So,
yes. Here's a good question for you. This is one I like to ask instructors. What do you do if you feel like a student's not a good fit for your academy? So maybe you got like a troublemaker or, someone that injures other people or,
yeah.
How do you handle that, Si?
We had one incident and I'm pretty nice. So I was like, hey, like kind of, calm it down. For example, this person, he wanted to go train with us, but he was wanting to do MMA and, and he's like, yeah, I want to, I'm skipping amateur and going straight to, like fight, like pro fighting. I'm like, you need to train, you need to do wrestling, jiu-jitsu and all that. But our gym is not made for that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I recommend some other gyms around the area that has everything that he needs in one spot, but he didn't listen. But anyways, he was at the gym, like doing like cartwheel kicks and roundhouse kicks before warm up. I'm like, dude, man, like, you can't be doing that here, like, like if you want to do that, go do something else. But that was really nice. I kind of hit it towards him. And after a while, I'm like, hey, look, I don't think this is the best place for you to be. You're more than welcome to train here, but I think this other gym would be best suited for you. But we haven't had any people where people hurt each other and having really big egos here.
Yeah. I
try to snip it when I see it, but I'm curious to that question too. If that ever comes up, I'll give him like 2 or 3 warnings, and after that, I think that'll be it. So
I think it's best when, like, say you started a gym from scratch. Yeah. So there's been times where I came into a gym, and so like you're not in control who's there. You're trying to figure out the personalities, and you're just like, oh man.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's almost better to start from scratch because sometimes you get into a toxic environment and then you're just drowning, man.
Yeah, and that's why you have to really like snip it early when you see something early, because you don't want that to like kind of leak into your program, And I think with jiu-jitsu schools, I think it's different. You get more people who are more chill, like MMA gyms, you have like guys who do CrossFit and like kickboxing and wrestling, Muay Thai, and then they come to jiu-jitsu. So they're already having those kind of egos from those group of, like background that they're doing. And it's not always the case, but sometimes it is. And it's hard to control that when you have people from different environments coming into the program. Yeah, man. You're like, dude, calm down, So.
Yeah, it's tough, man. So we kind of talked about balancing your training and teaching. like when you're getting ready, so you still compete, like how are you able to kind of fit your competition training with your teaching? Like, walk us through that a little bit. See.
Yeah, so opening a gym, obviously, we know you get a lot of white belts, um, and we might get a little blue belts here now that are moving down to the area from like Atlanta, but doesn't happen very often. So you have a lot of white belts, and you have for me, I have to adjust my training according to that. So I had to put myself in like bad positions, like maybe let them pass, try to escape from side control, or let them take my back and try to work on that. Because if you're training at a high level gym and you're always trying to protect your guard, and no one's can pass your guard, when they do, it's like once in a while, and you don't get to really work the escapes.
Yeah.
But with the white belts, you have to like Audrey Gracie, that's a great example. He opened school in London and had much white belts, and he just worked stuff that he like kind of sharpened his techniques on white belts. So that's what I'm doing too. And I'm kind of aware of like where my students are strong at. So I put myself in this position where they're strong and try to work out from that. So I'm learning, and I took your advice and like John's advice, and putting yourself in that position, and trying to work yourself out of it and figuring out your student's strong point and playing their game. So you kind of, you still getting good training, but if you're always like smashing your students, you don't really get to expand out of that, because you're always teaching, and sometimes you're teaching stuff that you don't want to, like sometimes you're teaching, it's not really your game sometimes, because you need to learn other things. And so I think a big part of that has been nice, because I got to go back to like stuff like butterfly sweeps and like over under paths and stack paths and stuff that normally I wouldn't use, that I got to teach the students. And it kind of reopens like, oh, like I miss that technique. I used to be good at that technique, and you start to try it again. But yeah, so I kind of noticed that when since I've been teaching. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, how do you lesson plan like the classes? Do you just kind of wing it, or are you like YouTubing it, or?
No. So we go by the Alliance curriculum, that they have. And then I kind of adjust it a little bit, sometimes I add some my own stuff in it too. So I go off of that, and then sometimes I just kind of teach what I want to teach. Like stuff that we like. For example, this week we worked on a lot of spider. Well, last week we worked on a lot of spider retention, and just kind of getting to spider and just moving side to side for the whole week. And then this week we should start attacking for spider, like your basic arm bars, triangles, and omoplatas. And then next week, is something else. So I do have a curriculum plan for the week, and we try, I stick to it, so they can kind of get more time to work on it. Some gyms, they have like the show one technique, and next tomorrow it's like a separate technique. You're like, you can't like connect the two, And I feel like, I think I would have been much better like if early in my jiu-jitsu journey that the techniques were taught like like hand in hand the whole week. You can understand it more broadly and connect better. But it's hard when you show one technique today and then next tomorrow is like completely different. So yeah, and then as far as like competing, I guess one of the benefits of having your own gym, you can ride off and you go compete. So I've been this year I've been competing every month. So I go out, I'll leave like a Friday night or Thursday night and fly out or drive out there to be back by Sunday. But again, it's fun because you encourage your students to go, and when you go, you get to know your students more because you're kind of spending time with them and hanging out with them, and I think that's really fun. That's a big part of traveling and competing. But I think it's more fun to see your student win than you win yourself. I realized that when I started teaching, it's more rewarding.
I got a question, but just my own experience watching you compete is like you're one of those guys I can't watch compete because it's like a drama. It's just like my heart rate's like it's like go see, and then it's like no see, God, see, what are you doing? So it can be like it's emotionally draining. Like
it is, man. But yeah, man, I enjoy it, man.
how important is it for your students to compete? Is it like, is that how you kind of grade your students, or you're just happy that they're competing? Like, how do you look at that?
I want to, at this moment in my life, the gym, I want my students to compete. You
Mm,
know, we're trying to make a good comp team. It's going to take some time. I, of course, not everybody competes, but I tell them at least once a year.
mm,
You don't need to travel. Once the line open, you can do one. But at least once a year. Whether you win or lose, I want you guys to go out there and kind of see the other side of it. Kind of test yourself and see where you're at. Because sometimes you're like the students are like, at the moment, I hear a lot like, "Oh, coach, I don't feel like I'm getting better.
mm-hmm.
Everybody's getting really good. Everybody's getting really good together." But you know what I mean? They're like, like I don't feel like I'm getting good. I'm like, well, go compete and you'll see. And then sometimes we have a new student coming in, and that white belt that's been trained with us like 4 months, like
Mm-hmm.
obviously does better than the new guy. He's like, "Oh, coach, like I do this and this and another guy." I'm like, "Yeah, you are getting good, but you're not seeing it because everybody's getting good together."
Yeah.
So, I do encourage them to compete. Um, we do try to raise money for them, for the competitors, because sometimes, back then, like, I compete and I just work, and sometimes I didn't have money to go compete. So, I've been in that shoe, and so, but I always find a way to go compete. But I know some people don't have always the opportunity. So we do have money for our competitors to go compete and stuff like that. We do like in-house.
Mm.
We do a lot of in-house event. As you can see on our social media and stuff, we do a lot of that. And so we raise money, and all that money goes to the food and stuff, and
Okay,
buys
that's
gloves
awesome.
and goes to the competitors and stuff like that. So yeah, I do recommend them to compete in. They don't have to, but the guys who do compete obviously are gonna get promoted faster, and,
Mm. Hey, listen,
and
guys. Hey, so like a lot of students, like I'm gonna say they whine, like I want to be a blue belt. Like, dude, you haven't competed. Go compete.
yeah, yeah. And then sometimes they think they're ready, but they're not ready, So
Like the tournament results showed that you were not ready. Like,
yeah, yes, it does.
see, can you walk us through the process for a new student? So say they're coming into your gym for the first time. Like, what are they going to experience?
Yeah, so they usually come in, we kind of make them feel welcome. We have like we usually print out some for them, the Ghees and stuff, have them set up for the Ghees to come in. We'll give them a tour of the gym,
Mm,
kind of answering questions that they may have. And then our guys are, yeah, my students are pretty nice about like just introduce themselves, walking up to them and introduce themselves, feel more at home. And then the warm ups, we kind of do the warm ups, and I'll pair them with someone that's been training with me for a while, so that
mm-hmm,
they can be more patient with them and walk them through the techniques, And and then when we start to roll and stuff, I'll do one roll with him, and I'll pair him with like two other students that I know that will like take care of him and won't hurt him. Not saying my students will hurt him, but it's just accidents would happen,
yeah.
and so they'll just take care of them, and we give them like a 3-day trial, and usually 3 days is good enough. I know. I think like 1 week trial is too much, but 3 days, 3 days, they usually know what they want to do or not. And so that's how we usually walk them through the typical process. Um, but I think like a lot of big part of it is them coming in and being really nervous,
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're like really scared, like they're gonna get like hurt and like train really hard, but it's really not, guys. Just come in and have fun, and it's not as bad as you think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and most of the time they're like, "Oh, it was really fun. I thought it was like something, they think of jujitsu as like MMA,
Yeah.
like getting the cage, but,
they
you
got
know,
they come in with the UFC gloves on, like
yeah, they're like, yeah, they're like, "Where's my gloves?"
where's Dana White? I'm ready to fight. You started at like an MMA gym, didn't you? See?
Yes, I started at Knuckle Up, which was at the time was like the franchise of like Georgia as far as like MMA gyms. Um, I did it for like 8 months though, and then shut down. And then I got pulled to Alliance. So I just been with Alliance ever since.
How was training at Knuckle Up? Was it just like, so I trained at Alliance, which is pretty much jujitsu, and we had Muay Thai.
Yeah.
But like Knuckle Up to me was like more, like you said, more of a kind of like it was an MMA gym pretty much. Was it like, were you scared to go in there the first day? See, like, how was that, buddy?
Yeah, I was so nervous because you come in, you see people kick them back as hard as they can. Like oh, my face
That's the
kicked in.
first thing you see. They're just like, ah.
Yeah, and you hear like the loud like music, like thumping. It's like you just
Mm-hmm.
like you get overstimulated. You're like,
Mm.
oh, the guy in the rings are him pass, and you're like, and then you just go overstimulated, and then you get to the mat, and then like that kind of like it's a little different. People are like kicking each other and stuff like that, and so they're
Mm.
just rolling around. But at the same time, you're hearing all the other background stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
so it can be a little intimidating. With the jiu-jitsu school, there's no loud music. You just come in, it's kind of very chill, and people are just watching TV and playing, hanging out, and then class starts, so it's different. It's a different vibe.
Mm-hmm. Whole different vibe there.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads into my next question. So, how do you feel like this is more like stylistic? Like, so there's like, I mean, you can have a combination of these two, but like, there's like a more of aggressive style. I would characterize like Nicholas Margali,
Yeah.
pretty aggressive, right? Just like attacking. And then there's a more of a flow style. I would maybe consider like the Mendez brothers passing like more
Yeah.
flow. I think that's a great example. So
Yeah.
how do you feel about those two styles? Which one do you
Yeah.
think is better? I think that's a better question.
I think both are really good. I think both like it's good to have both, right? You can be aggressive and you can have flow, right? So, and I think a part like if you're young, like 18, when I was 18, I was going like really hard, training really hard. But of course, you can't
See, you
keep that
still
up.
look 18. What are you talking about?
I may look like 18, but I feel old, man. But yeah, like when you're younger, like when you're from 18 to like 28, you can be explosive and train really hard every day and be really aggressive. But you can't keep that on until like your body feels different after 30.
Mm,
And so at my age, I'm 34. Like I choose when to be aggressive and when to be flow. So
mm,
like if I'm rolling someone with my level, I have to be aggressive sometimes just to get a better position on them. And then when I
mm,
sink it in, I can kind of slow down and kind of like work my way in for the pass or something. And then sometimes, if you're losing the fight, you have to be aggressive to catch up. You have to be aggressive to take the match over and like into your court and try to
yeah.
lead the fight out. But you need both, I think. You can't just be flowing all the time. Like it's hard. You need to like be able to like change it up and down. You got to be explosive here and then slow it down. And then in training, like you can do the first 2 rounds being aggressive and explosive, and then the next 2 rounds kind of like just you know go flow and kind of calm down your heart rate.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can do vice versa. You go flow, and then now you're tired, 8 round in, and you have 2 more rounds left, and you just push the last 2 rounds. So I think it's good to have both. And it's fun. It's fun. Obviously, it's fun to watch the guys more aggressive and the fights more like high
Yeah.
pace. Go, but you can't go all high pace like 6 rounds in a fight. Like
Mm-hmm.
especially when you gotta you gotta tone it down. You gotta pick and choose your fight. So I mean that's how I feel. I could be wrong. I don't know.
How do
Just
you feel? How do you feel that someone could develop that? So I see a lot of people comment like, "Oh, I'm not aggressive. I'm not explosive enough." How could someone? I don't know if this has a straight answer, but how? I'm just asking you. How could someone develop like a more aggressive style then, if they needed to or wanted to?
yeah, I think drilling has to be a big part of it.
Mm,
Learn the technique slow, and then let's get really good at it. After a week, you start picking up the same pace, picking up the pace on the same technique.
mm-hmm.
And then really, especially if you're passing on top, you're gonna be explosive. I think a big part of it is footwork.
Oh, the
Your
footwork.
footwork has to be like on point
Mm,
because you want to reduce the amount of steps you take to go side to side. Like if I'm passing Toronto to one side to my left, and I want to change direction to my right, I gotta be able to do nice footwork where it only takes me about 2 3 steps to get to the other side. I don't want to go from one side to Toronto and take like 6 steps just to go to the other side.
mm-hmm.
You waste a lot of time and waste a lot of time and on that and maybe energy too, right? So footwork is really important so that we can move fast and be explosive at the same time. It's one thing is be like really explosive, but take a long time to change angle or pass to one side. I don't know. That's what I feel. And I think like, a lot of people say like, oh, like do jujitsu only for cardio. But, I think for my body, I feel like jujitsu helps, but like cardio workout, like
Mm.
CrossFit, like Tabatas really help me like get my heart rate up and slow it down. And it helps me on my explosiveness. But I think it's up to the person how the
Mm.
body reacts to certain things. So, some people just like Marcelo Garcia that only does jujitsu, right? And he's never worked out like in a weight room, and he's like really good. So,
Yeah,
it could
he's
go
got
both
like
ways.
he's just built for jiu-jitsu though. He's just like big legs,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like
And then and then
he's strong,
you just
man. He's
figure
not
out
like
over time.
he doesn't work out, but he's strong.
He's
Sorry,
strong.
see,
Here he's strong. Yeah, he looks strong. His he's like his legs are like tree stumps. So
he got cankles, man.
yeah. So yeah, just figure out what works for you, and do it that way. So, and
What
obviously as you get older, you change what you work out.
what about mindset? I think that's kind of more what I was leaning towards.
Yeah.
So I feel like you have a flow style. So even if you're going faster, you're still flowing. You're like you're going faster, but it's like you're still kind of flowing a little bit. Uh,
I don't know about that, but yeah, thank you. I don't know mindset. Like I think everybody has doubts. Even like the highest level competitors, they have doubts. But I think it's how you control your doubts and like let them like leave your mind.
mm,
Because like when you're like on if you're on deck and you're able to fight, you're like, oh God, I gotta fight this guy. He's been winning every month. He's been winning all divisions. And like if you kind of like like if you just dread it, of course when you go in, like you just feel like you perform differently, you know.
mhm,
But if you're just like, oh, he's really good, but he's never fought me, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do my best that day to fight him, and whatever happens, happens, And then you do your best as you can, like doing a fight. But if you're like,
mhm.
this guy, like my division, like he's been winning everything, I gotta fight him. It's different. We all been down. Even in class, right? You're like, oh, next round, like you're tired,
Mhm.
and then like your next partner is going to be like Alec, and you're like, oh, I want to fight Alec, but your coach is like, okay, Steve, go with
Well,
Alec, and then you're like, like
see,
I tell a lot of people about you, like, oh, how you do it against Alec? I'm like, dude, Alec like just smashes me because like he's been smashing me since blue belt. So
oh
like
no.
like sometimes you condition yourself to like, oh, he's
Mm,
always beating me up blue belt, and like you just perform differently. So then like I see like guys like Austin roll against you, and like he does better than me. He does better than me than I would do with you.
mhm,
And I'm like, I roll with Austin, I do really well. And he does really well against me, I do well against
mhm.
him. So it's like I know it's a mind case. So
Well,
but
Austin
then
got me because as a white belt, he like almost destroyed my nose. That might be like getting a flashback every time I roll with him. I'm like, oh no, my nose is gonna get broken.
but yeah, just I always tell the guys like if you go to roll with someone that's really good, just do your best. Like just to pick, hey, today he's not gonna pass my guard. I'm like, I'm gonna
Mm,
take it to him. But if you're just like, oh, like I gotta roll with him, he's always beat me. Okay, I'm just gonna do like I'm gonna try. Try is not enough. You have to like, even though you're gonna get beat, you have to like give it to him. Like, and
mhm.
then you start building your confidence, and then then you do a little bit better at time, and then you eventually catch up that person, and then it becomes less of a beating.
What if that person's Lucas Leprey and you're just like, Jesus Christ, I'm doing everything. I'm doing
Yeah,
everything possible.
yeah.
Like nothing's working.
Yeah, I'm not the only one, so I don't feel too bad.
One
Yeah,
of
I
my
mean,
best
those guys are
memories
good,
is
right?
like one of my best memories. Like I was sitting down. I think we were doing like a group training, so I was sitting down, and me and another guy watching watching him roll, and we're like, how did he just do that? Like, I don't understand.
Dude, one time we were training for the camp. I can't remember what camp it was. It was probably either Pan somewhere else, and he was just working on takedowns.
Mm.
And I was like, dude, I feel so good today. I'm gonna like give him a hard time, and I'm gonna stuff his takedown. And he shot on me, and I put my hands out, and he shot in. I grabbed his fingers, and I twisted his hands up like this, and he was like,
Oh,
oh, and then I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna die here. He's like, see, don't you grab my fingers ever again? I'm like, I didn't mean to. I just got scared.
hmm.
And like I looked at the clock, and it was like 5 minutes left, and I'm like, oh, my life is dead. I'm dead for 5 minutes, and It's the scariest 5 minutes of my life.
Oh no.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, I mean, like just gotta do your best every time you roll, whether they're a world champion or they're really good. So you just have the same mindset,
That
even
might
if you win.
sorry, see.
Yeah, go ahead.
That might be the downside to training with all the time with someone so good, like
Yeah,
it might be just mentally you're not able to perform if you're always rolling with like this world champion guy every day and getting destroyed. It might be better for you to like take a little break from training with that person, build your confidence a little bit, and then go back and train.
yeah, it is. That is true too. It's kind of like people ask like, oh, how do you do this new technique really well? I'm like, man, I learned a new technique. I'm not doing it on black belts. I'm not doing it on
Mm-hmm.
brown belts. I'm doing it on like white belts and blue belts until I get really comfortable and I feel confident that I can time it and see the couple of reactions that they're giving me.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, like I do on the purple belts and brown belts, and then eventually, like hopefully you can do on the black belts. So like like you say, Alec, like you can't just roll with the worship all day because like you just get like mentally beaten down.
Mm-hmm.
But if you roll with someone like that, you're like you work on new techniques and you're hitting it, like it builds your confidence. And next thing you know, you're hitting on like people at your level, or
Mm-hmm.
higher. So yeah, that's true. I feel like it's true.
All right, see, here's a good one I've been waiting to ask you. So you're a brown belt for a long time and you just got your black belt. So what's been new for you? What's it like being a new black belt? See,
Man, it doesn't. It's still the same.
it's the
It's,
same. No power. See, no
no
power up.
powers, right? I thought I would get like a bunch of powers, but
You just
you know, um, the only thing new is competing in the black belt division. I competed last time in the Charleston Open,
mm.
and I felt the same.
The
You know,
Charlotte Open or Charleston? See,
Charlotte.
Charlotte, Charleston. Yeah, maybe they might. I don't know.
It's a Charlotte Open,
Sorry. Keep going. See, sorry, buddy.
and that's all right. And it's about the same. Nothing changes. I think just um, now just I think now I have to really work like really drill more like I'm already drilling but drill more and kind of
Mm.
work on the finer details because I feel like the fine details what makes position works well and the high level. But it's the same, like you don't stop learning. Like the day I got my black belt, next day I'm still the same person.
You
Still
got
the
to give it
same
some more
person.
time.
Yeah, but obviously, like like now competing as a little more pressure. I guess, you know, even as a black belt and having a school is a little more pressure to do well. But I think the pressure wise is new, but as far as like feeling better and like sharper and faster, you're still the same person. You just gotta keep continuing to work on those things that you want to make better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that black belt's a grind, man. That's a
It is.
grind.
And
I'm
trust
still
me,
grinding.
it feels like yesterday. It feels like I feel like I started training yesterday. So it goes by quick, guys. Like 10 years, 15 years go by really quick. And you're like, oh, it's just a black belt, you know? So
And you're not, being a new black belt, like you're fighting guys like me. I've been a black belt for like 6 years. You're fighting guys like Lucas, who's been a black belt for, I don't know, over a decade.
yeah,
So like you gotta find you have to make your own space. It's not easy.
it's not because even then like in the black belt level, you watch a lot of matches, some guys lose by advantage at one point.
Yeah. Rough
It's
decision.
not by a big margin, guys. And so like to think like, oh, like he's better than me and like I suck. No, these guys are like the top of the world, like in their division, and they're like top of like they're really good. But then if you take yourself out from that division and you compare yourself to like the majority of the world, like you're really good. Like you don't realize how good you are, but
Mm-hmm.
you just compare yourself to a small sample pool. And even though some of the guys that should be on the podium don't make to the podium, they're really good. Like like so don't this guy's like not good because he never made podium. No, these
Oh
guys are really
no.
good.
You do black belt world, pans, anything, like everybody's pretty good.
Everybody's good. There's no like there's no easy fights. You know, your
Mm-hmm.
first match is not easy, you know. And sometimes people make mistakes, you know, and some days, like, you know, that day it's that person's day. But usually people don't make mistakes in the black belt division. You know, it's just everybody's really tough.
Yeah, it's
So,
tight, you know.
pretty much.
All right, see, those are all the questions I had. Did you have any questions for me since you got me here?
Yeah, man. So what you been doing now? I mean, how you training in like back to Atlanta? And I know you're not teaching anymore. So how are you uh approaching training? And are you getting back to competing this year, or what's up with
That's a lot of stuff rolled into one.
that?
I've been taking time off last few months. I just wanted to. I think it was good for me to take a break just to kind of figure out what I wanted to do in my life. You know, 2020 was a rough year, and so I. But luckily, I didn't have like any like. I didn't have to go teach. I didn't have to go train anywhere. So it gave me a lot of time to think about what I wanted to do. You know, I invested a lot back into developing, you know, skills in like video editing. You know, now I'm working on like interview stuff. So it really gave me a chance to like, you know, really sit down and think about what I want to do, because it's easy to get like, you know, say you're teaching every day, like it's easy to get into that like routine, you know, I got to go to the gym at 12. I got to be here at 8. So for me, it was kind of like a good break to kind of like focus on what I want to do the next, you know, 5-10 years from now. So I chilled from jujitsu a little bit. I started working on my mobility. So, you know, there's a lot of things you know, I injured, and just from training all the time. I remember I hurt my ankle, and you can see it in videos. Like it was like a period of like 5 months. My ankle was jacked up. I had to tape it every day. So just to get my body some, you know, a well-needed break, get my mind a well-needed break, develop my business, build my business.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to rely on teaching as much, I could like focus more on my online content, online instructionals and stuff like that. So, yeah, so that was one part. Also, like, I think being away from jiu-jitsu made me realize like how much I love doing it. So, you know, I'm looking forward to getting back to training, competing. Hopefully, you know, maybe the trials. I think that'll be good. ADCC trials. I want to do the Ghee pans later this year. So those are two things I'm really looking forward to. And I'm glad I took a break, because I actually want to do those things versus like before I would just like, okay, I got to do this because, you know, I want to be more famous, or, you know, I want to promote something. So I need to win something, versus like, oh, I want to do this tournament. So that's basically it, man. I've just been chilling, enjoying life, man. Getting a little chunky.
No, you can lose it.
Yeah,
It's always
it'll go
I
fast.
always love watch you compete. Like, oh, sometimes I'll go up, you know, and like obviously like other people too, and but like watching your matches are like, you know, like always excited. Always
My goal is for it
excited.
to not be exciting. I want it to be like, oh, he's got the shoulder pressure. It's over.
Yeah, like, man, I can't let you get on top of me, and then you like just bash me, and it was like so hard past your guard. You just like ball up and like it's like no space. It's always fun to
Mm-hmm.
watch because like it looks like the guy's almost passing guard. It's like nope. It's like
Man, I
and
want to fight, man.
up. It's like you're explosive, and it's fun to watch you fight,
Thank you, C. I like watching you fight when you're on. You know,
man.
when you're on fire. All right, let's do it, C. When you're not
Yeah,
on fire, I'm like, God dang it, C. Oh, I want to do something right, C.
it's hard, man. I mean, I'm trying to. I'm still figuring it out. You know,
Mm.
I think that's competitor. You know,
What are you doing to help figure that out, C?
um,
To get in that zone a little bit better.
it's hard. I don't know, man. I tried a couple of things. Hasn't really worked well for me. If you guys know anything, suggestion or anything you might know that would help. You know, I try to read some books and stuff like
Mm.
that, and try to apply those, you know, to the real world, but it hasn't really worked so well for me.
I think it
Um,
might be your motivation. So like, so say you might be down, but as soon as like we would do this in training, like, oh, so he's getting his butt kicked, you'd be like, come on, see, you can do it. Like as soon as somebody would say that, you're like, you just see like,
yeah, I think having a team behind you, and
mm,
you know, like always when you go travel and stuff, like your team's not always behind you because like you know it's not your hometown,
mm-hmm,
and you're like out of your environment, but you're training, and you know, like it just helped having like a coach in your corner, you know, like someone you always train with to push you and like to coach you. That's it always helps, but you know when you're traveling and stuff,
yeah.
you know, always that case. But but anyways, like I just I try to focus, have a good
Mhm.
morning, start my morning off, stretch, get some food in, get ready for the fight. So it's just
I mean,
routine changes every now and then.
I mean, you can't like that's something I see a lot of people complain about, like, oh, my coach wasn't there to coach me. You flew like across the country. Of course, your coach
Yeah.
can't always go there. So I think you have
Yeah,
to
and
develop
coaches
like,
has like 20 other students to watch. Even though he's there, he has like a whole team, coaching. He's getting dragged all around,
yeah,
pulled in every direction all day, and you have to understand that they're tired too. So you have to be ready to fight without them or with them. So
especially if you're trying to coach and you got to compete. Like, man,
yeah,
that's rough, man.
it's rough. It's rough. Yeah,
Like you're,
I know it's rough because I've seen it, but
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna experience it at Atlanta Open as I'm gonna coach my students. Atlanta Open this when is it? June or
Early June, early. I think it's
Thursday.
next week. It's next week. So you ready?
So yeah, I'll be coaching and competing that weekend. So see how I do.
Last question, C. Why don't you train Nogi?
uh, I do love nogi. I started doing nogi when I first started training. I started doing when I first trained. I started as nogi. All right, we did nogi at Knuckle Up, and I was like, oh, I really like this. And then I remember we did a gi like after a couple months. I'm like, can't move. They're grabbing me. And I hated the gi. Hated it so much. And then I fell in love with it when I came to Alliance. I started liking it at Knuckle Up, but then when I came to Alliance, I'm like, oh, this is.
Because we didn't train any Nogi. We had one Nogi class a week. You didn't have a choice.
Yeah. So I mean, like, well, I mean, after I get the like after I like gi, I never went back to no gi. But here, we had no gi twice a week. But since we're competing the gi right now, I kind of just cut down to once a week
Mm,
on the Thursday night on Thursday and just focus on
man.
gi for now. I think, yeah, I think it'd be that for a little bit until some of the students want to compete in no gi. Then of course, like I think both is really important, But as of now, I just want to focus on the gi.
See, he
No
ain't
gi
doing
is
Nogi,
important too,
guys.
guys. So
Once a week.
so yeah.
Last question for you, C. What's the best looking gi?
Best looking gi. In my opinion, I like the Keiko. They're more like slim fit.
The old school Keiko?
The new school Keiko.
I don't know the new school Keiko.
They're like the summer weave.
Uh,
They're nice. I like them. They're just like slim fit because they're like 3 pounds, right?
mm.
You step on that scale. 0.6 is a lot. But yeah, I mean, I think the Keikos are really nice.
Mm.
I still like the Bulldog Terrier one, or not Bulldog, the
Bull
Bull
Terrier.
Terrier one. I still like those. They're kind of old school, but
I don't know if they make it still.
Oh, they should. They should. They're kind of expensive, right? They're like 250. Oh my god.
Because got to import it and stuff.
They're nice.
I had one. It was red. I'll post it somewhere.
Yeah, I know. I remember that one.
It used to be Chris Moriarty's gi.
Is it you?
I think that thing shrank. It hit that Japanese size, boy.
Yeah.
Chris is like 6'2" something. That thing shrank.
and you got it from him?
Yeah, I got it. It was red though, dude. I don't know what I was thinking. No, I think I gave it away or something.
And I was like training. I was like, oh man, one day I'm gonna be a black belt. Because like I think when I first started, like, oh, how come you have a red gi? They're like, oh, because only black belts wear red gis. And I'm like, well, one day I'm gonna be a black belt red gi, And of course, I don't own a red gi.
I had that gi as a blue belt or purple belt or something.
I only seen like red gi a couple of times.
Yeah, this thing was not pretty. I don't know what I was thinking.
But anyways.
All right, see,